Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. As always, a reminder that this podcast does not constitute real estate advice, legal advice, broker advice, or advice of any other nature. This is an informative podcast. And if you need advice, please reach out to the correct professional who can help you. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Launch Grow Harvest Podcast, Business Growth Coaching with Connie Boona and Roland Kim.
Hi, everybody. I'm Connie Boona.
And I'm Roland Kim. Welcome.
Welcome. This is the Launch, Grow, Harvest podcast. And today we're talking about key characteristics of great leaders and how great leaders attract and retain talent. We've certainly talked in a number of different sessions about the importance of the people around you. And so let's dive right into it, Roland. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think makes a great leader?
I think it's the modern great leader is a teacher versus someone that's dictating through statements. And so great leaders that I'm really inspired by are finding a way to like motivate and inspire better through you. Get more out of you. And so it's an interesting combination of not making you aware that they're teaching you. They're very humble, but they're also, obviously, you have to have respect for them, and you have to know that you like them, you trust them, and that that they can help you. And so, in summary, I'd say a great leader has humility, has the respect of the folks that they're teaching, and often the teacher in them is the big component.
And who can you give an example of somebody in your world that you look up to as a great leader?
There's lots. I mean, there's I have a coach that it's in the real estate world with Keller Williams, and a lot of it I find for me comes when I'm wanting to kind of hash something out, and then realizing that they have skills and experience in that as well, and able to give guidance and advice. And often it might not be a direct experience, but that their skill set is so varied and wide that they can give you guidance. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the things I'm trying to do at this particular stage in my career and business is actually continue to seek out mentors and inspiring leaders. So I find that I'm truly trying to invest more time in learning and reading, listening to podcasts, trying to absorb some of the experience along the path in front of me that's already been worn. So I'm just in the process right now of reading a John Maxwell book on sort of the key characteristics of great leaders. And, John Maxwell is obviously a very well-known speaker and author and leadership coach. And it is really something for me that is a constant work in progress, I find.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. I'm amazed at how much inspiration and leadership I get now from audiobooks and podcasts. And so there's definitely the direct mentorship from a coach that you've hired, or someone that's your accountability partner, or just a mentor in your life. And that's so powerful and so awesome. But a lot of, and that's one of the really cool things in today's world. You can kind of, go find a topic, go find a half hour or an hour on something that you want to dive into, something that you want to learn more about. And I mean, John Maxwell's a great one. I love his podcast because it's, inspirational and educational. And it's funny because it's like I actually think I'm in coaching with him, and he doesn't even know who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting when you have, sort of a daily or a weekly habit of engaging with somebody in that sort of online format of a podcast or a show or something of that nature. Another book that I'm finding I'm actually going back to it for the second time is a book called Multipliers, and the author is Liz Wiseman. And what I find so powerful about that book is it really talks a lot about it talks about leadership and being what she refers to as a talent magnet.
Okay. What's that?
And so, how do you as a business person attract amazing people around you, people that want to be in, direct business with you, that want to do business with you, and also people that want to be in business alignment with you and run their businesses alongside yours or work with you or work for you.
Yep.
And one of the things that she really, the whole premise of the book is that the best leaders make people better, make everyone smarter. They have a magic about them that draws out and up the talent pool. And one of the things that always that has struck me and continues to strike me when I enjoy this audiobook is, one of the primary examples she speaks about in one chapter of the book is how organizations with new leadership can take the same group of people. So it's actually there's a change at the leadership level, and you still have the same group of people in sort of the operations component of the business, and it's just a shift in leadership that shifts the results of the team. And I think sometimes that caused me quite a bit of reflection, because I think that part of my learning curve has been maybe stepping back into that place of humility and realizing, it's easy for us to blame someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a great leader. I've been super clear with you about the expectations, and you're still failing. Some statements like that, for example. And we can all get there, especially in times of stress. And I'm trying to do a better job of really recognizing and acknowledging my responsibility if I'm unhappy with a situation, and it's not meeting my expectations, to what degree, first and foremost, did I clearly articulate the expectations and the standards? Even before that, to what degree did I invest in really understanding who the candidate was?
Mm-hmm.
And who they are and what their skill set is and how that might be in alignment or not with the core requirements of the role? And it's always an opportunity. I definitely have, what we call these days a growth mindset, and that's my default. I'm glass half full. And I've always been that way, and who knows why. I'm lucky, I guess.
How much do you think, and that's a really great point, when you visualize that much better results can happen with the same group of people when there's either a shift in leadership or a change of habits from leadership. How much do you think is part of like what you don't do, what you take away? So what I mean is I see a lot of leadership growth sometimes in circles or groups when they reduce something, right? Like I feel we've had a few circles where we've really gone away from diving into the drama or bathing in the drama, and because sometimes as leaders you want to spend time almost reminiscing on the challenges you had and the things that you've gone through in the past week or something, but that can really water down a meeting. That can really water down an opportunity where a number of leaders have come together, and it can cause, and we've gone through that in different businesses between you and I, where certain weekly meetings or stand-up sessions have become more of almost whining sessions versus what they were meant to be for, accountability and structure and goal setting. And so I find we have improved over the years, I believe, in not trying to get involved in the drama, right? And how do you separate that? So you almost need to have, friends or accountability partners that you can lean into from time to time when you're a leader, just to vent or talk about something. But it's I don't think it's no longer helpful to share that all the time with the folks that you're leading.
I think that brings up a really good point. I think that you know, I think that great leaders set a tone.
Yes.
I think that also great leaders create safe space where people can share vulnerabilities, frustrations, and also um, there's an expectation, or there is a template created for the appropriate places for when those conversations can happen. But I do think that it's important to acknowledge that we are operating in a very different dynamic than, let's say, leaders of 20 or 30 years ago.
Do you think it's harder to stay in alignment with your team members today?
I wouldn't say that it's harder, but I do think it requires more rounded attention. And what I mean by that is I think that, you know, for some folks, feeling like they can vent and share some of their, maybe their personal challenges, that previously, certainly in my professional experience, in the early stages of my career, I couldn't imagine a situation where I would go to my senior leader and like be sharing the frustrations I'm having about my life.
Yes.
I just wouldn't have done that. I would have been too embarrassed to do that. And I also felt, if I'm in reflection, looking back there wasn't an environment there wasn't a place where that would have been a welcome conversation. And I think the shift today is that people want to have, I think, a deeper relationship with their team members. And I think also as leaders, sometimes folks are looking to you not to be a problem solver. This is something I think that's really important in those conversations. It's like, is this just an opportunity? Is this just a venting conversation, or is this a solutions conversation? Because I know for myself, one of the ways in which I can maybe alienate a conversation or alienate a person from sharing more with me is my default definitely is diving right into, let me solve that problem for you.
Yes.
Like that's just my default. And I've been working, and this is also ways in which, as human beings, we take components of lots of different places. So I'm thinking about ways in which I've worked on my personal relationship with my wife and my partner around that concept directly of, a venting conversation versus a problem-solving conversation. And I think that our team members and our employees need that space too. And also, you're absolutely right that there are places where that's appropriate, and there are places where that is probably better suited for another
Well, I think
space.
Yeah, I think as you're describing that, I feel almost like, as a good leader, that humility and that awareness to provide a space to your team members to come in and vent and come in and share when they want leadership and guidance. I think where it's changed is it's not necessarily always a two-way street. So I see sometimes where good leaders are failing is when they forget that, although they're receiving conversations from team members that are more personal and perhaps more venting, I don't think it's healthy to have that going both ways, because you can kind of lose the respect and almost the knowledge, right? It's almost like sometimes I don't know if the team members consciously are aware that they almost see you as like semi-perfect. But if they start seeing some cracks and similar challenges that team members having, I think you can lose rapport, and they're questioning, whether you have the skills to help them.
Interesting. Okay. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and if you had asked me that question on whether, is it harder to stay in alignment today with team members versus 20 years ago, my feeling is definitely yes. Part of that, I think it's kind of like that Amazon world where you have an idea, you have a feeling, and you want to go and find it. So, a team member who has something they want to talk about or dive into, and if they're not getting it from their leader at work, that quickly becomes a pain point and might make them question the employment opportunity.
Mm.
Whereas years ago, I think you kind of perhaps went and found a friend and had a coffee break and talked about it with a friend, but didn't expect it from your leader.
Mm. Well, I do agree with you that as leaders, we can't wear every single hat.
Definitely.
It's certainly untenable, and one of the things that another really, really powerful component of certainly John Maxwell's teachings is, great leaders are working with the people around them to make them better. And one of the key signs of an amazing leader is how are people growing and potentially growing outside of the boundaries of your business and building their own businesses or moving on to other opportunities. And one of the things that really, really struck me, and Liz Wiseman talks about this as well when she talks about in her chapter around being a talent magnet. When you have that persona, when people are just so drawn to you, and they feel like they can really expand themselves, a core part of that dynamic is that they're not afraid to grow and move on. And that isn't a sign of failure of your business model. In fact, it's a sign of success. And if you do it really well, it becomes an attractor. People come to you because they've seen the ways that people have grown around you, and certainly it occurs outside of your core business and into other business opportunities. But the relationships are maintained, and that becomes almost a flag of like, wow, it would be amazing to work with Joe Blow, Roland Kim.
It's almost like consciously being aware of. Isn't it funny though on one spectrum where someone who's not in alignment, is failing out of the job, leaves, and someone who's overachieving and nailing it can leave as well because they outgrow the role. And as a leader, I find, and we're doing a way better job in this area now, is consciously asking yourself, is my umbrella big enough to help this person and stay together, or am I willing to grow, our world so that they have a big enough world, or consciously just being almost like proud of the fact that no, I don't want to change my model or what I'm doing, and that person is going to level up and level out, but in a positive way.
Yeah, and I think that the ultimate goal there, and a sign of true leadership, great leaders, is that those relationships remain intact and positive and healthy. I can think about that also in relationship to our even our real estate business. Like a good analogy for me is like working with clients where I've helped them buy the forever home. They're not moving again, but we've committed to the relationship. We're invested in the relationship, and we keep in contact because we genuinely care about them and their well-being, and we continue to pour into nurturing that relationship. And it's outside of a desire to get another transaction with that person, for example. It feels to me analogous where, that team member that may be growing and moving on is not going to directly impact your business. But again, just like in our real estate business, they might be a referral source. They might be sharing our names with other people that you never know who's going to come into your world. I mean, I know that in the last 15 years, we've been shocked at the people that have come into our lives, that have impacted our lives in major ways, and certainly lots of learning along the way.
So what would you say is kind of the biggest learning or one of the biggest challenges you've had in your leadership course?
For me, the biggest challenge I think has been, again, it's the subtlety of setting the course, creating the standards, and also keeping the momentum in that regard. So it's just like business planning. It's you have motivation to do that in October, November, December of the previous year, but how often are you reflecting back on your business plan? So I think for me as a leader, I'm really committed to and invested in solidifying, clarifying, reviewing the expectations and goals that I'm setting for my business and for my people so that they know when they're on track.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, very good for both, getting started and also staying aligned. For me, I still have a habit and a weak spot of trying to create a role for people that I like parts of someone, and I want to, I see parts of their skills that I think would be really helpful to be in alignment with, and then create a role that I think is fulfilling for them and is, that they'd be grateful to have when I haven't really checked what it is that they wanted and I have deviated from what it is that we need.
Yep.
And then, like you get into relationship and best case scenario is you're operating at a B level where no one's perfectly happy or in their sweet spot. And more than likely you have someone that either you realize as the leader that, is not the right fit for the role or, the person self-recognizes that this isn't the right opportunity. And we've done that a few times.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the truth is that I think we're both firm believers in the idea that
Ongoing.
it's ongoing and failure is inevitable, especially when you're entrepreneurial in spirit and wanting to grow and constantly pushing outside of your comfort zone. Awesome. In closing, I think two key takeaways. If you haven't enjoyed it yet, Multipliers, Liz Wiseman, phenomenal book. And the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell, really, really powerful leadership reads. Thanks for listening, team.
Thanks, everyone.
Friends, if you're looking to get in touch with us, Connie Buna and Roland Kim, you can find us at kimbuna.com, Keller Williams Realty Van Central. We're coaches, we're brokerage owners, we're realtors, and we would love to have a conversation with you. Thanks for listening.